Do you adore journaling? You have a stack of journals on your desk or your bookshelf at all times. However, sometimes we can experience difficulties with using them. We are surrounded by journals, tools, and beautiful materials that it can be quite overwhelming sometimes. Welcome to my guidebook to journaling, where I give my tips and answer your questions about the issues we all come across while journaling in our beautiful books. In today's episode, I am working in my scrap journal, where I follow a typical junk journal style, and I am finding out that I have lots of forgotten pages left unfinished. When you have multiple journals or take a break from using a journal, you are sometimes left with pages that are forgotten and need to be loved again. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Amity Bloom. Today is another day where I want to play in my journal, and I actually haven't used this journal I believe in 3 weeks or so. I haven't touched it. I've been using my other journals. And if you are like me, when you take a break from using a particular book, a notebook, a journal, and you end up with some pages that are kind of forgotten, when you come across a forgotten page, it can sometimes cause anxiety, it can make you doubt yourself, and it doesn't make the process enjoyable. This usually happens when you don't use your journal for a period of time, or you go back to it months later and you have a lot of forgotten pages within your book. And so I want to create this little series called Journal Guide, where I go through the problems and the little quirks that sometimes come around when you're using a journal. And this is one of the ones that I tend to experience a lot, and I want to offer all of my tips with you, and I thought it would be really helpful to share with you all my process on how I tackle those forgotten pages, because it's never fun to have anxiety or to feel nervous when you're opening up a journal, especially your own. And it's really frustrating when you've been working so hard on your pages and then you have a couple that are just not doing it, and they're just giving you more problems than they should. So these are the 2 pages that I want to focus on right now. And you'll notice that I started them, but I never finished them. They're forgotten. And the reason as to why I left them alone is because I wasn't really liking how this darker paper contrasted with this page. And for me, when I'm in a mood to journal, I choose the pages that best go with my ephemera and my pictures. So that's kind of how I go about with choosing the pages within my book. And because of the colors between this was very light and this was a little bit more dark. And I think I did some watercoloring and I messed up, so I covered it up. It was really just an abandoned page, and I feel really sad because this is my vintage wallpaper, and this was a bag that I purchased when I went to buy some cards for my loved ones. So it's a very special page, but I want to spruce it up. I want to bring it back to life, and I want to take it from being forgotten to loved. So the first thing that I like to do is I like to see what parts of my page I really love and I don't want to change. So for me, it's this vintage wallpaper, this little card that reminds me of a vintage linen that I purchased, and I do like the typewriter font on this paper. So I know immediately that these 3 elements I don't want to cover up and I don't want to change. So that just brings me to covering up these parts right here, the parts that I'm not really flowing with. So that's the first thing you need to do. Find out what you love so that you don't cover it up, and just focus your attention on the parts that you don't like or that have been abandoned. And that sounds so sad, but you know, sometimes that's the reality, especially if you have multiple journals. You tend to forget about some pages, and it's really sad when you're flipping through your journal and then you're just like, wait a second, I never even journaled on this page, or I completely forgot about it. And to me, that's quite sad. It's a lot of work that we put into these books, and they deserve to be used to the fullest. I'm going to be using some vintage stationery. I believe this is from a planner. It's really beautiful. The color palette matches the rest of the creams, and it's actually the perfect size to cover this part up. My second tip, find the biggest portion that you want to cover it up and start from there. Don't start working on the smaller areas, work from big and then to small. So I made sure to put some glue so that it's nice and intact. The reason why I suggest working from big to small in regards to covering up your surfaces, let's say I want to put some lace right here because I really like how it looks. I'm focusing on a smaller area of the big area that I actually have left over. And then let's say I want to use this really pretty stationery. I will encounter a problem when I want to cover up the rest of it because it will not flow. I'm going to have to cut around to accommodate my little ribbon. So that is what I mean when I say start from big to small. Cover up the bigger portions with bigger pieces of paper or fabrics or whatever you have, and then you can layer smaller portions on top. It'll make your life a lot easier, and it will be a more enjoyable experience because you'll be able to use your leftover papers in your scraps. For me, it's really important when I'm using my pages that I use my papers, and it doesn't matter if it's a little snippet or a whole page. I want to use everything in my journal, and this allows me to do that without having to worry. So I want to cover up this little section over here, and I can't stop looking at this. This is some packaging from some washi stickers that I purchased. And let me grab them. I actually keep them in this little Ziploc bag, and I recently ordered a beautiful vintage box, like a floral box, to store all of my washi stickers because, I mean, look at this, you guys. I think I have an addiction. I mean, look at this. This is ridiculous. This is so crazy. If there is a floral washi sticker anonymous club, definitely let me know. Leave a comment below because this is a problem and it shouldn't be like this. So I think I want to use, see, my mind is going all over the place. Now I'm thinking about using a sticker, but I originally wanted to show you where this packaging came from. So let me just put that aside because I think I do want to use those. This originally looked like this, but I cut it in half because there's a really beautiful backside to it. So this way I'm using the same packaging but using it in different ways, and you get different results. This is a way that I compromise. When I have packaging, when I have paper, something that I like that the design is beautiful on both sides, I use one side to decorate and the other side to do something else. Could use it over here and treat it kind of like a little pocket up here. And I'm just adding some double-sided tape on this side, and this side, because I want it to have some function to it. And that's the third tip that I want to offer when you're working on a forgotten page, and only if you can add more bulk to your journal, because obviously this is going to make it a little bit more bulky. Use your papers, your ephemera, with a double purpose. And that means give it a decorative purpose and also a functional one. The functional one being that you can use it as a little text spot or a pocket. There are many things that you could do, but those are the simple ones that I think everyone should automatically be familiar with. And most of you guys are if you've been following me or if you are in the community for a while. Those are some of the favorite things that we like to do in this community. We love our pockets, we love our tabs, and we love our flips. So now I have this funky little thing, and talking about forgotten pages, this looks like it's a forgotten piece of an envelope, and I ended up not using it. And now I have this funky little thing left with, and I actually really like this. A very light kind of sage minty green, and it contrasts the little hints of green really well. So I think I want to glue it on just about that much. I don't want to do the whole page. I want to add some interest. So I'm not going to use it on the entire page. And here is where the fourth tip comes in. When you're using scraps of paper, and you can do this with fabric as well, not just paper. Ooh, you know what would be really cool? Because it has this portion, I can actually flip it out. Ooh, yes. See? We're using something that's pretty, but yet still maintaining that functionality. I love that. Okay, so let me add my glue. When you're using paper or fabric, you don't want all of your papers to be cut the same size. You want there to be some irregularities. The reason as to why I recommend that, and why I also do that myself in my journals, is it gives more interest to the eye. When you create something that's absolutely perfect and symmetrical, it's beautiful, but there needs to be something that's kind of quirky and intriguing about it. And that's just my personal style when it comes to using a journal like this. However, if you're someone that likes symmetry and for it to be perfect and this type of style, makes you anxious, then by all means, don't change something if you know that you're not going to vibe with it really well. But this is one of my tips. Instead of leaving the page all the way to the edge, I like to cut a little bit off, and in this way it just looks a little bit more quirky, and I like that. I really do enjoy that look. I want to cover up this little area right here, and I have this little piece of paper. This actually came from a book jacket. I really like the cream color. Incorporate some type of font, some type of type onto your pages. Obviously, book pages is the way to go. If you have beautiful calligraphy, you can do that. If you have a typewriter, you can do that. There's so many things that you can do, but I always recommend every single page having some type of font or typography. Like here you can see this has a different type of font. Here's a typewriter font, and then here's this one. And I really, really enjoy that. And I think what I love more about this page is that the font is actually a little bit darker. And I really loved this little symbol here at the bottom. So it's those little details that sometimes make your pages a little bit more intriguing to the eye. And it helps those pages that were forgotten become sometimes one of your favorites. So the base of my pages is practically done, and we didn't really do that much. We just covered up the areas that I knew I did not like, and I'm still keeping the areas that I do like. So let's focus on this little tuck spot that we have up here. I have this paper, really beautiful. It's actually the backside to a card that I got. And the reason as to why I'm choosing this, use a little pop of color. And I'm not saying that you need to use a rainbow on a page, but use a color that contrasts the color palette that you're working with. And I typically only do this with one thing. So the piece that I'm going to be using is this teal minty paper, and I'm going to be tucking that in into the text spot. I like to include normally in a tag or as a little card. It makes a page that looks like this, very beautiful, but the minute that I add something that has a color that's not in my color palette, it makes it more intriguing to the eye, and it makes you think, ooh, what is that? And you want to pull it out and you want to see it. So that's another tip that I like to do. I like to add a pop of color, and normally in just one area. If you do it in multiple areas, it can be sometimes a little overbearing, at least for my personal style. I want to focus on this little piece that we created, this little flip portion. And I have this scrap of ledger, which I think is the perfect size to add it on the back. I don't leave this looking like this. I do want it to look somewhat finished. And then I just glue it on to where I want it to be adhered. And that way when I flip this out, I have some journaling space. And I really love how that looks. Now I want to use, I have this really pretty tag. This is from my Petal Parcels, my Petal Tag Printable that I shared with you all a couple of days ago. And I want to use these little snippets of paper to add some more personality onto the pages. So I think I want to use perhaps some of this vintage ledger up here. Now is when I start incorporating my smaller snippets of paper onto my collage. We started with bigger pieces, and now we're making our way into smaller pieces. And like I mentioned before, it makes it really easy for you, and it's a hassle-free way of decorating your forgotten pages without you struggling to fit everything that you want onto a page, without you having to cover things up that you didn't want to cover up in the first place. So now I have this cute little tag, and I want to just place it on there, but I don't want to glue it on permanently. I want to staple it on. And I purchased this adorable little mini stapler. Look at how tiny it is. It's so cute. I think I got it from Office Max, I believe. And because it's back to school time, they have the cutest stationery and cutest little office supply thing, so I had to pick that up. I'm really happy with how that looks. Now I want to focus a little bit on the bottom, and I think on the bottom, I just might add a sticker. Or what if I use it on an envelope? Like this one. What if I use this as a little tuck? I have this little envelope, and this is what I'm going to add my washi sticker on. Let me take my sticker off and just add it right onto my envelope. And I like to take the scissors to get rid of the air bubbles, kind of like a little scratch and sniff. Do you see how cute that looks? Oh, I love that. This would be really beautiful to have a little stamp there. Let me use this little washi tape. I recently purchased some of this beautiful washi tape, and I'm going to use it right along there. And then on the inside, what I think that I want to use is this. Hopefully you can see it on camera and it's not getting washed out. I want to use this. This is a Petals of My Life, the printable that I created for the poem that I made, and I shared with it in my previous video. I wrote the poem in my journal and then I made it into a digital, kind of like stationery. And so I printed it out on just regular white paper, as it comes with a background and without a background. So the printable comes with this type of a background, and the camera is kind of washing it out. But this is with that vintage background, and I printed it off with no background. So the digital comes with a background and no background, so you can print it on vellum, you can print it on scrapbook paper, and I also printed it out on craft paper, and I think this is my favorite one. They're so much fun, and I love these, and it fits perfectly in my little envelope. And I love that. I think I want to tuck this in right there. Oh my gosh, that looks so pretty. Oh, I love how this page is turning out. And then I just added a little bit more of that washi on the edge there. And I think I am finished with this page. You'll notice that it changed it completely and entirely. And it turned a forgotten page into one that will absolutely make me smile every time I turn to it. And what I love about it is that it's beautiful, but there's still some form of functionality, as in here with this little flip, I can journal on the back. I can journal on this entire page, this beautiful little text spot that I made recycling some packaging, and I have a little journaling card that I can use to put a picture on the back, do some more journaling, and then I have my little envelope that I can journal on the front and include more journaling inside of my little envelope pouch. I have to say it was a lot of fun working on this page, especially because these pages were one of the pages in my journal that I was really unhappy with, and I knew I had forgotten about them, but they're not abandoned anymore. They're so beautiful, and I can't wait to put my pen to paper and start journaling about my life in here. I'm so excited. I really hope that you guys enjoyed taking a peek into my journal, taking a look into my forgotten pages and how I bring them back to life again. I really hope that you guys have an incredible day wherever you are. Make sure you click that little bell button below to get a notification, as there's going to be some really fun videos and a product. It's probably my most highly requested product, and it will be coming out next week. So I can't wait to share that with you all, so make sure you have that notification bell turned on so you're the first to know. And of course, until next time, I hope that you guys have an incredible day wherever you are in the world, filled with peace and love, and I will talk to you guys very soon. Bye-bye, and have a great day.